Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I probably should have filmed this video earlier based on the lighting, but like earlier in the day. But it's fine. As we can see from the title, today I'm going to be discussing all of the books that I read in March and April of this year. I did read 11 books, which is pretty good. Nearly the same amount of books that I read in January and February. I know what the first 2 months of the year are. So yeah, I'm just gonna basically same format as last month. I've got my list of the books I read, my ratings, and we're just gonna discuss the books that I read this month and my thoughts and feelings on them for the last 2 months. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Thanks for watching. So the first book that I actually finished reading in March was one that I actually started in February and carried over into March because I didn't finish it, and that was Well Matched by Jen DeLuca. This book is on my list of 23 books that I want to read this year. I do apologize that I think a lot of the books I'm going to be listing in this video are on that list because I just want to get the books read for this year. I'm just trying to get them out because last year I did not meet it, so I'm quite determined this year to meet it, hence why you're going to hear this a lot throughout this video. But this is the third book in the, apparently it's called the Willow Creek series. I didn't know it had a name. I just thought it was the Well Met series, but no, apparently it's like Willow Creek series is its name, which was just wild to me. This book focuses on April and Mitch. So April is a single mum and her daughter, I feel like her daughter's called Kate or Claire. I really should know the name of the girl. Yes, her daughter is Caitlin. She's a single mother. She was married at the time and her husband basically divorced her because he didn't want to have kids and was like, I want nothing to do with Caitlin. And then, you know, he turns around and decides that, you know, as Caitlin's about to graduate, he'd like to meet her and be a part of her life. A bit of an interesting time. And so she's kind of like doing up her house so that she can get it ready to sell. And basically in comes Mitch, who is the local PE teacher, I guess, for lack of a better term. I want to say football coach, but I don't think that's correct. Okay, so he's the high school coach and gym teacher. Finds out that she's, you know, renovating a house, obviously to help her out. And obviously a kind of love story blooms and, you know, they pretend to like fake date one another. And then, you know, they kind of have a little like love story blossom and relationship. So I did actually attempt to start reading this one last year and I got 30 pages into it and I just didn't care. I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more this time round. I ended up rating it 3.5 stars, which is pretty good. I thought April and Mitch were pretty cute and sweet. Didn't care for like any of like the sex scenes or anything like that, but I enjoyed their story. I was a little bit kind of like over this series, but it kind of made me interested enough in it to give the fourth book a go. I think it's been released or it's about to be released. I can't quite remember, but I am intrigued to give the next book, Well Traveled, a go. So that was the first book I finished in March. And then the second and third books that I read in March are actually part of a duology, so I'll just speak about them at once to make it easier. And it is These Hollow Vows and also These Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan. So this is basically been described as ACOTAR, so A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas, for actually young adults, because as we all know, that book series was weirdly marketed as being for young adults, but it is not. It's a very kind of similar-ish storyline, just more along the lines of, you know, human girl, I can't remember the main character's name, Bree. Her sister is actually sold to the fairies. There's like the Seelie and the Unseelie court, and I think it's the Seelie court. The queen there is holding like a ball. All of, you know, the young women in the world are able to attend because they want to find a bride for the prince. Thought it was great. Obviously, Bree does become a fairy. Won't tell you in kind of like what instances or anything like that. I kind of guessed that what character was going to be like the fairy prince. I'm like, oh, wonder if it's him. I was right. I thoroughly enjoyed these. I read them in like 2 to 3 days in total for the 2 books. They were great. I rated them 4.5 stars each. I thoroughly enjoyed these 2 books. I thought they were great. The covers are stunning. I really enjoyed the way it was written. Almost wish there was a third one. However, I understand why there isn't. And I'm glad we didn't drag things out, but things sort of did get resolved quite quickly and it was a bit like, really? But other than that, that's like my main complaints with it. But I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. Love that it's only 2 books. They're both out. Sorry, there's a bird. But yeah, I really enjoyed these 2 books by Lexi Ryan and I'm really quite keen to pick up something else that she releases. And then the fourth book that I read was By Your Side by Cassie West. So this is a novel that I rated the lowest out of these 2 months, and that was 2.5 stars. I was so disappointed by this book. So I really loved one of Cassie West's novels, which was P.S. I Like You. I've read a couple other books by her and I didn't really enjoy it, but I thought I would like this one because the premise is basically that this guy and this girl get stuck in a library and they're trapped for like a weekend, and I'm like, this is gonna be great. I didn't like it. Them being trapped in the library is not the whole book at all. It was kind of boring. The main character, Autumn, she sucked, really, is the best way to describe her. She sucked. I didn't enjoy it at all. She just wanted to escape the entire time, which is fair enough. She thought the guy she was stuck with, which was Dax Miller, the resident bad boy, purely because he's in foster care and his foster care treats him like shit, so he has trust issues. They had that great of a time in the library together. She actually passed out and they have to call, they pull the fire alarm because she has a panic attack and faints. And it was just, the whole thing was unnecessary and I didn't enjoy it. And as a result, I'm not going to pick up any more books by this author because it just wasn't worth it for me. It was a little bit on the juvenile side and I just didn't cope with it and I didn't enjoy it and I really had to force myself to get through it. But honestly, I really wanted to DNF it, but I didn't. But I don't really know why, and it was not worth the read and I do not recommend it. The fifth book that I read did I read this one in March? I think we're still in March. Oh yeah, March was actually a really good reading month for me. You wanna help talk about this book too? Okay, you can help me. The fifth book I read in March was The Italian Job by Catherine Freeman. If you read my 23 books I want to read in 2023 video, I would like to confirm this book is set in Italy. This girl, her and her ex break up. She has to move back in with her dad, and she also loses her job because her ex was the boss where she worked in a restaurant, and she basically finds this online ad. What is a castle in Italy on Lake Como. This couple would to hire another couple to look after the property for them because I think they live in America as well. Kind of come over as holiday house with their family, their friends, and so she applies for it with her neighbor that she doesn't have a great relationship with, and they basically pretend to be a couple in order to get hired to work there, which they do. I literally guessed the plot line. So the couple that own the castle, they have a son. Son's a douche. Let's just get that over and done with. He basically wants mum and dad to sell the castle to this property manager so that they can basically turn it into a hotel style thing and make a shit ton of money. I was as soon as I worked that out, I'm it'd be cool if, that older couple gave Anna and Jake, who are the guys pretending to be dating, they gave Anna and Jake the castle and the son doesn't get it because they'll live there and look after it. What happens in the epilogue? Exactly that, is they get married. That's their wedding gift. And I was I guessed it. I don't love guessing the plot lines in books, but I got it right. It was a 3.5 star read, but it was not as good as I was hoping it to be. I didn't particularly enjoy the writing style. I think it also didn't help that I was coming off the back of By Your Side and I was just very over contemporaries at that stage and was starting to get into a bit of a reading slump. It is what it is. It wasn't terrible, but it could have been better. The sixth book I read, okay, this was the last book that I read in March and the sixth book, and that is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. Now, this book, I will start by saying I rated 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. However, I, for some reason, thought this book was set in modern times. I thought it was modern day someone doing an encyclopedia on fairies. And then it's that kind of urban fantasy. Didn't realize it was set back in 1909, which makes a lot more sense because back in that time period, people believed in fairies and mythical creatures a lot more readily, whereas nowadays we have science to kind of explain all of that stuff. So that was a little bit disappointing for me because I don't tend to read books set in the past. It's not something I enjoy or tend to pick up. However, I did enjoy it. Sometimes the writing style annoyed me a little bit because it's set in that time period and I don't always enjoy the way that they spoke and wrote, but that was to be expected of the time period. So basically it's about Emily Wilde who travels to this tiny little village Somewhere in Europe. Where is it? I can't pronounce that. I'm not going to pronounce it. It's literally like Hransvik. It's somewhere. But basically she travels around the globe, going to like little villages and towns to talk to the townspeople about their fairy lore and try and like write this encyclopedia on all the different fairies in the world. And basically she just has to write about the fairies in this town. And while she's there, her academic rival, Wendell Bamblebee, arrives as well. He's so obviously a fairy, and it was cool, it was interesting. It's a different take on fairy novels from what I've read. Like the fairies play a role in it, but they're kind of more like side characters and not so much the main characters. I also thought this was a standalone. Nope, there's a sequel. It wasn't bad for what it was. I just wish it was set in modern times because I think I would have enjoyed the writing style a hell of a lot more. But that is fine. It was a good way to end March. And then we move into April. And I finally picked up a book that was also on my list of 23 books I want to read in 2023. And that is Evercursed by Corey Ann Haydu. This book is basically about 5 princesses who have been cursed by a witch. The way that the spells work in the world of Ever is that, can't remember what the curse is called, but it's a particular type of spell where the spell can be undone if you complete, by the witch, if you complete whatever she wants you to complete before she turns 18. Because once she turns 18, the spell is permanent. It's basically the princess's mother's been frozen in a glass box and the 5 daughters have been cursed. So like one of them's been cursed with she cannot eat. Another one's been cursed with never being able to sleep. One's been cursed with like losing hope. One's been cursed with never being able to love anybody. And then the other one's been cursed with never being able to remember anything. And the curse takes effect on all of their 18th birthdays. I'm basically told once the youngest one turns 18, I will come back and tell you what you need to find or do in order to break this curse. And basically it's really creepy because all of the other princes and princesses absolutely love that these 5 princesses are like enchanted. They think that they're like beautiful and they love it, and it's just, the whole thing's fucked is the best way to describe it. Like I thought the way that they were talking about the girls in front of them was disgusting. It was creepy. There was definitely sexual harassment going on, but I rated it 3 stars. I really didn't enjoy it very much at all. Grossed me out. Didn't enjoy it. Didn't enjoy it. Yeah, I just didn't really like the writing style. The characters were not likable or redeemable at all. But look, we read it and that's it. And then the second book that I read in April, I'm going to be honest with you guys, April was a bit of a meh to reading month for me, which is a bit disappointing because I was actually hoping this next book I was going to love. And that was Daughter of Sparta by Claire M. Andrews. So I thought that this was a standalone novel. Nope, turns out there's a sequel and a 3rd one coming out as well. I've already decided I'm not going to be picking up because I didn't enjoy this one as much as I thought I would. I did rate it 3.5 stars. I think I've been too nice with my ratings, to be honest. This book focuses on Daphne. Her and her 2 older brothers adopted by this Spartan couple, and they've been raised in their society. And then one night their brother is supposed to compete in this race to get this wreath off a deer, and if someone catches the deer and takes off the wreath and brings it back, it means that all of the crops are going to grow. Yeah, it's basically the brother that's supposed to participate in it goes missing, and to not bring further shame to their family, Daphne decides to compete. Women are not supposed to compete, so she ends up participating and she does win, but when she catches up to the deer, Artemis is there and is basically like, hey, Olympus has had these 12 things stolen from them, and your brother's been spying on me, the one that went missing, so I'm gonna turn him into a deer. And if you don't help my brother Apollo find the 12 things that have been missing and return them back to Olympus, your brother's going to remain a deer. And also Olympus is going to lose all of its power and this big bad evil person's going to take over. So she agrees to go on it and goes on this journey to find these 12 things that are missing from Olympus, but doesn't actually know what they are. It was a whole journey. we went on a journey. I just didn't enjoy the writing style, didn't like Daphne very much, didn't like Apollo very much either. The only character I liked was her best friend, and they were kind of in love with one another, and then Apollo turned him into a wolf. And then I was like, oh. So yeah, look, I read it. I didn't enjoy it enough to pick up the sequels. I wanted to like it more than I did. I wanted Daphne to be a strong, badass main character, but I just found her more on the childish side of things, to be honest, and it was just a little bit disappointing. But that was Daughter of Sparta, which was the second book I read in April. The third, fourth, and fifth book I'm actually not going to talk about. Well, I'm gonna like mention it, but I'm not gonna go into detail because if you watched my previous video of the romance reading vlog, the 3 books I'm about to talk about, that vlog is about. So just in case anyone is watching both, if you are, thank you. I don't want to make you sit through the whole explanation again. So if you want to know my thoughts and opinions on these books, by all means, please go and check out that video. But like I said, the third, fourth, and fifth book I read in April was Terms and Conditions by Laura Asher, which is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. And then I also read Twisted Games and Twisted Hate by Anna Huang, the second and third book in the Twisted series. I rated all 3 of these books 3 stars. That's all I'm gonna say. I forced myself to get through them, but if you would like to know more about these books, please check out my reading romance vlog. So they are all of the books that I read in March and April. So I read 11 books. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!